How you guys doing? I was just thinking about something. Happy Friday. Um, this is something that is very important here, and I'm sure you guys may be able to understand where I'm coming from with this. Um, it is better to be raised overly exposed than to be raised overly sheltered. And it looked like it's going to rain today. But listen, this is what I'm going to say here. And the reason why I say it's better to be raised overly uh, exposed than to be raised overly sheltered, because being raised overly sheltered, it makes you green, and it just makes you dumbfounded. You grow up dumbfounded to a lot of things when you're raised overly sheltered. Um, this is the reason why dudes that's raised in the hood uh, have so much knowledge and so much life experience early in life, because they've had so much exposure at a young age. Now, there, it's not totally good to be raised overly. It's not total. I'm not saying it's good to be exposed to everything early, but in my personal opinion, I think you'll be better off experiencing a lot of things early in life than experiencing things later in life, because and because I'm not saying that, even though in the hood there are guys having sex at 12 and 13 years old and 11 years old, that you shouldn't, I'm not encouraging that, but I truly believe that being raised uh overly sheltered can be a hindrance to you in a lot of ways, because you're not really prepared for the world, and you grow up just delusional and not knowing a lot of things, so even though being exposed to a lot of things early in life, doing a lot of grown folk things early in life, I'm not saying that that's the best way to be groomed and the best way to be raised. But I will say that I think you'll turn out better when you're exposed to a lot of things early in life. You know, I'm sure you guys can agree, because in the hood, you got a lot of guys. They doing grown folk stuff early. And that's why I feel like when you're overly exposed, it makes it easy for you to transition into adulthood. You know, I you know I think a lot of guys. One thing I notice about a lot of guys that are not chosen, a lot of times by females or whatever. I notice a lot of these types of guys were raised very sheltered, very protected. I think about how I was raised, very sheltered, protected in the church. Um, that's not always the best, you know, because you grow up so green and not knowing a lot of things. Uh, I was listening to an interview with Usher, and he was talking about how he was doing he was singing about stuff that he shouldn't have even been singing about at his age. But he said that it made it easier for him to transition. You know, it made it easy for him to transition. You know, as he grew into adulthood, because he was exposed to everything so early in life. There was some guy who, I guess he was a businessman in the industry. He even said that when Usher was 14, he was in the club with P. Diddy. He guzzling down champagne. Now, now that's somebody who's had a lot of exposure in their life, and they were exposed to a lot of things at an early age. Um, you know, Now, I'm not saying you should be drinking champagne at 14, but I think, in my personal opinion, it's better to grow up fast and be totally prepared for this world than to grow up overly sheltered and to grow up so delusional, not knowing anything about, how the real world operates. So I mean, I'm not congratulating people who grow up fast. But in my personal opinion, I think it's better to grow up fast than it is to be all sheltered. And I'm sure you guys can agree. Because one thing I notice about a lot of guys, especially dudes who are not being chosen by women, one thing I notice, a lot of these types of guys, they were sheltered growing up. They were very protected, and their development was stunted in a lot of ways because of how they were being groomed and how they were being raised, and myself included. So, when even though these people are celebrities, I look at, I just use these celebrities as examples. I look at people like Bow Wow. I'm 34. I think Bow Wow's like 36 now. You know, I think he was 11 or 12 years old sleeping with grown women. See, all of that, all of those experiences right there are preparing you for adulthood, you know. And I'm not saying you need to be 11 or 12 years old screwing grown women, but that's how a lot of guys grow up. Not just celebrities, but you got a lot of dudes, especially like in the hood per se, you know, they get a taste of real life early in life. That's why you'll find that's why a lot of these types of kids that grow up early like that, it's easy for them to transition into adulthood because of how they've been raised. You know, um, I wish I had it like that. you know, I wish, if I had to pick and choose, even though I was raised sheltered, you know, I feel I was overly sheltered in a lot of ways. I think if I would have been raised, I feel like if I would have been raised in the fast lane, you know, if I would have grown up fast, I feel like I'd be further ahead than what I am for my age. You know, I would have had more real life experience, you know, because I feel that real life experience is what cultivates you into a real adult, and I wish that I was that I had that experience early in life, because being raised all sheltered and protected and beat over the head with that Bible, that right there is not preparing you for this real world, you know. And I was just thinking to myself, and I felt this would be a good topic to talk about because I feel that it's better to be raised um, overly sheltered. I feel it's better to be raised overly exposed than to be raised overly sheltered. You know, even though a lot of us didn't have no control over how we're being raised, but yeah. What do you guys think? Do you think it's better to be raised overly exposed, or it's better to be raised overly sheltered? You know. Now, if I was a parent, I wouldn't expose my kids to adult things early in life. I would try to, I would tell them the real about life, but I would try to do it in stages. You know, I would try to do it in stages, just like building blocks. You know, I'll take it back to school. If I was a parent, I'd do it like school. I would just teach my kids things in stages. Like, you have your first grade, your second grade, third grade. I would do it like that. But in my personal opinion, I do believe that it's better to be raised overly exposed than overly sheltered because it'll prepare you for the world. But that's all I wanted to talk about. You guys have a good Friday. Peace out.